Get inside. It's coming. Help!
Hurry!
او طرف است. متوجه باشین. داره میاد این سمت. Hurry! It's the bear! It's destroying the pen! Baba, look! Get back! Leave us away! Get out of here!
In the high mountains of central Afghanistan, where the ridges rise like enormous frozen waves and the winters carve hunger into the land itself, the arrival of early spring doesn't always mean safety. Sometimes it means the hungry come down from the heights. The Afghan Hazara family of Karim, his wife Fatima, their 3 children Nasir, Maryam, and little Samyand, the elder Baba Zahir, had survived the long winter together. They had defended their goats from wolves, protected their food from the flood, and rebuilt their shelter plank by plank. They believed the hardest part of the season had passed. They believed that hunger now belonged only to memory. But deep in the mountains, something else had endured the winter to something stronger, hungrier, and less willing to wait. The first sign came in the morning, when Nasir walked to the goat shelter to check the animals before feeding them. He saw the goats clustered closely together, silent in a way that goats are almost never silent. Their eyes were wide, their heads all pointed toward the tree line above the terrace. Not one of them chewed. Not one bleated. They breathed shallowly, watching. Nasir felt the old chill, the one that comes not from cold, but from instinct. He stepped forward slowly, careful not to startle the herd. And that was when he saw the prints in the soft earth near the melting snow. Huge, deep, spaced, far apart. Too far for a wolf, too round for a man, too heavy for any animal that grazes. He crouched, placed his palm beside the print, and his hand looked small shield small by comparison. He did not shout. He walked back to the house and found his father. Karim stepped outside, and when he saw the tracks, his jaw tightened the way stone does when struck. He did not panic. He did not raise his voice. He simply looked toward the ridge, scanning the brush and slope. "A bear," he said quietly, "a big one, and starving." In these mountains, bears are not monsters. They are respected beings, strong, intelligent, and solitary. But when hunger meets desperation, respect alone is not enough to keep them distant. The family moved with quiet urgency. Fatima brought Maryam and Sami inside, away from the windows. She didn't frighten them. She kept her voice steady, her hands gentle, but her movements showed purpose. Baba Zahir sat by the doorframe with his walking stick beside him, watching the yard as though looking back through decades of winters and encounters just like this. Karim and Nasir walked to the goat shelter together. The goats shifted nervously, but calmed at the sound of Nasir's voice. Karim checked the latch, the woven reinforcement, the stones at the base. It was strong, but strength was not the same as certainty. A bear that had eaten well in autumn would avoid people. A bear that had been starving for months would risk anything. The day passed with a hush over the village. Even the wind seemed to listen. Just before dusk, when the sky turned the color of steel and the air felt thin, the goats inside the shelter froze again. Not in panic, but in the same held-breath stillness as before. Karim and Nasir stepped outside. They did not need to see the bear to know it was there. They felt it. Then it appeared at the edge of the tree line, a massive brown bear, ribs visible beneath its fur, shoulders gaunt, its head low not from fear, but from a hunger that had eaten through pride. Its eyes were focused, not wild, not confused focused. It had already chosen the goats. Karim whispered, "We do not run. We do not make it chase. We stand firm. We show we are not prey." Nasir swallowed, but nodded. The bear began to move down the slope. Slow steps, heavy steps, not rushing, measuring. Testing, it looked at the goats, then at the men, then at the goats again. The animals inside began to stomp, their breath quickening, bells rattling in a frantic tremor. Karim lifted a burning brand from the fire pit beside the yard and held it high. Fire was one of the few things bears respected, but fire must be held with certainty. He stepped forward, placing himself between the bear and the gate of the shelter. Nasir stepped sideways to widen their line, holding a second torch made from twisted goat hair and oil-soaked cloth. His hands shook at first, but his father's stance steadied him. He planted his feet. The bear stopped. Its breath came in a long, hot plume. Its claws flexed into the earth. It did not back away. It roared. The sound filled every hollow of the valley. It rolled off the ridges, pressed into the chest, vibrated through the ribs. It was not anger. It was a declaration. I am hungry. I will take what I need. Karim answered not with a roar, but with a step forward, pushing the torch outward, letting the flame show its strength. Not swinging, not threatening, just being. Fire must be calm to be feared. The bear lowered its head and came closer. The world compressed into three things: the fire, the snow, and the breathing of two men standing against something much larger than themselves. The bear lunged, not fully, but enough to test their resolve. Nasir's heart slammed inside his chest. His instinct was to step back, but he remembered, if you show fear, the mountain takes something from you. He held his ground. Karim moved the fire into the bear's path, not striking, but forcing it to turn its head. The bear snarled, swiped once not to attack, but to clear space. Its claws struck the burning brand. Sparks flew. The bear recoiled, and in that moment of hesitation, Karim shouted not in fear, but in command. The shout was not for the bear. It was for the mountain. A statement of presence. Other villagers heard and came. Quietly, without frenzy, men arrived carrying flame and heated stones. Not weapons meant to kill, but force meant to declare territory. The bear, surrounded now by a boundary of fire and human presence, understood. It did not leave because it feared them. It left because the cost of taking food had become too high. It backed away slowly, step by step, its eyes fixed on the shelter, until the brush swallowed its massive form again. The night held its breath for a long moment after the bear disappeared. Only then did the family breathe. Inside the house, Fatima held Sami in her arms. Mariam knelt beside the window, watching the yard with silent worry. The hearth crackled steadily. The goats settled slowly, and outside, the firelight flickered against the snow, casting long shadows that looked like memory. Karim placed his hand on Nasir's shoulder. "You did not step back," he said. Nasir nodded once. His chest still heaved. But he had stood, and standing was enough. The mountains do not reward strength with comfort, they reward strength with survival. And that night, the Afghan Hazara family endured again, because they fought, but because they stood together, unbroken, in front of hunger itself. Thank you so much for watching. Stories like these remind us of the incredible resilience of the human spirit. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more. We'll see you in the next one.
نزدیک خانه‌های پایین است. مواظب باشید.